I don't want social media being clouded with pictures of my manager being restrained by an 18-year-old footballer. So if the fan was questioning his tactics and it got that reaction, I would be massively concerned. If the fan called him a "see you next Tuesday," then I'm sorry, Mr. Fan, but you're lucky you didn't jump in and belt you Eric Cantona style.
It's just one of overwhelming disappointment and sadness that we're in this position. I thought we'd left that behind a very long time ago. It feels like a very long time ago. But here we are again.
The reason why you get the reaction that we got yesterday is because the football was honking yesterday. 2 years to the day that we led at Anfield for the better part of an hour, and we can't take the game to Burton. People feel like they're getting mugged off. The one thing Luton fans don't like is being mugged off, because that's what we've been for far too long. And I'm not necessarily suggesting in the recent times, but you go back to the darker times, and the creation of it all was because we were being mugged off. Just tell it like it is. People aren't stupid, Luton fans aren't stupid, and at least if you tell it like it is, it's going to take the edge off the vitriol that's going around. The Town tossed 2 points away against Burton on Saturday afternoon in a really disappointing 1-1 draw at Kenilworth Road. Alongside me to see if we can chew any fat from the bones of that one is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, maybe we can get some meat rather than fat out of that bone.
Slim pickings, I think.
That there is, yeah, but we'll try and do all of that and look ahead to the Plymouth Cup game right after this intro. Hello again all, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast. As you'll know by now, this season the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. And maybe we need to give a bit more opportunity and assistance to our academy to fulfil their potential based on yesterday. As I said before we played the intro, we're looking back at Luton 1, Burton 1, and I've got Jimbo alongside me to do just that. I said in the instant reaction, Jimbo, that I didn't know what else to say really, and 24 hours on, I'm still struggling for words about what to say. So you're going to have to do an awful lot of heavy lifting on this podcast, I think, my friend.
I don't expect much out there in listener land because it's just one of overwhelming disappointment and sadness that we're in this position. I thought we'd left that behind a very long time ago. It feels like a very long time ago. But here we are again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing that we need to say, I mean, look, the scenes after the game yesterday were unpleasant, they were unfortunate, and they were not what anyone wants to see. I mean, sometimes Jimbo and I kind of humorously say that, you know, incidents on pitches and things that commentators say no one wants to see, we actually do, but no one really wants to see those scenes yesterday. But it should also be said that they're not born about through results. There seems to be this warped idea that results lead to what we saw yesterday. It's not a results thing. I'll go back 3 home games ago against Lincoln. You had the exact same result and you got applauded off. And you got a standing ovation because you put your balls out there and you gave everything that you had. But for a refereeing decision, we'd have gone on and won the game from 2-0 down. The reason why you get the reaction that we got yesterday is because the football was honking yesterday. 5 shots of any kind. 2 years to the day that we led at Anfield for the better part of an hour. And we can't take the game to Burton. That's what people are getting peed off about. 5 shots yesterday, 3 shots last Saturday, 13 shots on Wednesday night, 5 of which came in 1 goalmouth scramble right at the end. That's a whole week's effort. 21 shots of all kinds, 1 of which was a penalty, 1 of which was from our own half, 5 in the same goalmouth scramble. People aren't asking to be the second coming of Brazil 1970 or that Barcelona team that dominated with Pep Guardiola. All people are asking for is a bit of entertainment, a bit of enjoyment, a bit of having a right damn good go. And they're not getting it. And if they're not getting it, it's going to grow and grow and grow to scenes like yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it's accumulative as well, isn't it? Over 3 seasons of disappointments now, and it. You know, we said beforehand that the season felt over. I mean, we've still got Tuesday, I suppose, in the Virtue Trophy, but the league season feels over, and it feels more over now. Because, you know, at one stage when we were winning, we were a couple of points off, and it was like, oh, well, this has corrected back to, you know, before the week that was. But you can see that, and they didn't have to work hard for that, but it was coming. But there's a mistake. The number 2, who had some cojones in the game because he was shouting at his teammates quite a lot in front of you boys in the Kenilworth Road end.
He had an absolute mare at the goalkeeper, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, for someone to do that. Not that our goalkeeper needs to have a mare because he's the only saving grace at the minute.
Yeah. And then he's got all the time in the world. It's the most crowded box, and still he's got loads of time in the world to pick out someone at the back stick, and I don't think anyone in that ground didn't think it was coming.
Well, seemingly someone did, but yeah, I certainly didn't. I thought it was coming from a long way out. I want to do a positive in a minute because I feel like we've done so much negative over the last week, but I can't get away from the team sheet, Jimbo. I just can't get away from it. I mean, if I took my boots yesterday, I'd have lowered the average age of that lot, and I'm 43. It's just, what was that all about? Do you know what I mean? I mean, the spine of Naismith, Saville and Wells hasn't worked at any stage this season, but when we're right up against the cosh, I know, let's go back to that. Come on now, we've got to move away from these experienced players. We have to. Look at every single player who does something for us. He's under the age of 25. Take Casey Palmer out of the equation, and even he's struggling in the last couple of games trying to carry the side. Anyone over the age of 25 has been of no use to us at all season. Season's done now. Get rid of that notion that we can hide behind experience. We can't. It's the experience that's letting us down. And 90 seconds into the game, and it's been brought up in Jack's press conference or post-match interview, people were booing. That's because the first time Saville got the ball, he didn't even think about being on the half turn and playing forward. The very first thing he did was pass it back to Anderson. The second thing he did was get it off of Anderson and give it to Kearley. 10 minutes until he looked to play a forward pass, let alone play one, and I'm not even exaggerating. And this is the same stuff time after time after time. We've referenced the sideways and backwards chant in the hope that people would listen. I don't mind us playing around at the back and trying to lead teams out and everything else, but there has to be a tempo to it. It's absolutely there was no right from the off yesterday, there was no seeming intent to go forward, and you saw what happened when we did go forward, because one pass cut them open like no tomorrow. But we have to get away from this experienced players malarkey. They're not doing it.
I think that's fine as a perspective. There wasn't a lot of booing. It was 97 seconds in, and we had it clocked. There wasn't a lot of booing, but it was enough for it to be audible. And I just think that, even though you've explained why, I just can't get on board with that 97 seconds. I just like we're in a position of polarised views on the booing. You know, we've said all along, I wouldn't boo. I'd shut up or I'd go away. You know, if that was me in the stands. I understand that you've got to voice your opinion somehow when it's sort of not being listened, but you're also in a catch-22. How are they going to be better? Some people have a view that, well, I can say what I want because I pay my money, and they'll just have to take it, and they're getting paid enough and they just have to take it. But they are human beings, whether you like them or not. And if I got shouted at my job as much as that, I'd probably not want to do it either. I mean, I do get shouted a little bit at in comments and things, but I can like sort of shake that off. But when it's 10,000 people,
Which it wasn't.
Which it wasn't, but just to say, I don't understand the mindset of what that purpose brings, because you're doing it because you're frustrated that they're not playing good football. But how does that get you to play good football? I can't. Listen, I'm asking for an explanation from people out there who are of that mindset. If that is you, please let me understand how that works, because I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I don't really see what booing after 90 seconds brings. But at the same token, people see us as voice of supporters, and supporters don't have many voices right now anyway, so it's only fair that we explain the reasons why people are doing it and hope that the people that can make these decisions and make the changes take it on board. I'm with you. I wouldn't boo after 90 seconds, but by the same token, there was perfect support on Wednesday night. And what did they get out of Wednesday night? 1 shot on target until injury time. There was perfect support at Cardiff. There wasn't a single boo at Cardiff until the full-time whistle. Not a single boo at Cardiff. They got 3 shots and 1 shot on target. And now Cardiff are a brilliant side. But Wimbledon went down there and had 6 shots on target. And I didn't even look at how many shots Plymouth had on target, considering they're our next opponents. But they put 5 past them yesterday. We had 3 shots in total. So people are hacked off. Look, it is not asking much for a midfielder's first instinct to look forward. Now, if he looked forward, George Saville, there was no passes on, then turned backwards and played it backwards to Anderson or to Keeley or to Naismith, then fair enough. But his very first instinct was to give it to Mads Anderson. He didn't even try and turn. They weren't even pressing us. It was from the kickoff. We kicked off. And that's where it's all stemming from. People want to watch football that goes forward. And I've said it until I'm blue in the face on this podcast. Forget the result. The byproduct of the result will be the performance that you give. You give your absolute nuts and you play some forward-thinking, attacking football. The result will take care of itself, because we are at a level where we are above most of the standard in this division when we play like that. When we don't, we're below all of it, as we saw yesterday, as we saw at Wigan on Wednesday night. You get told on Wednesday night, oh, the players care, the players want to get promoted, the players this, the players that. And within 2 minutes, we're going backwards and sideways and offering up an optical illusion of the exact opposite. And that's where the booing comes from. Now, I don't think anyone went to Kenilworth Road yesterday and thought, do you know what, hook, line or sinker, after 2 minutes, I'm going to boo.
Oh, there'll be someone. There'll be some.
I don't think there is.
There'll be some.
You pay an awful lot of money. It's 26 quid to get in yesterday.
But
go back to that night at Anfield, 2 years to the night. We only paid 30 quid to get in that night. It's scandalous the amount of money people pay to watch League One football. Very least you can do is start passing the ball forward.
Well, yeah, I'm on board with all of that. In terms of a way of playing and the tactics of playing, what I'm saying is, what does booing after 97 seconds serve? Except just to, satiate your own fury.
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
But if you're that furious, why go to the game in the first place? But there's many ways to protest, isn't there? And I would be of the mind that if they're not listening to my voice in the stand, well, I say they, because most of this is directed at the board, isn't it? Then vote with your feet. Don't go. That would be my take. But booing? I mean, do you not then see the causation of the booing as to the continuation of that terrible play? The whole game was really awful, turgid game of football. Do you not think that contributes?
I would be amazed if people don't think it contributes. But like I said, there was no booing to the 2 games before, and we offered up a grand total of, naff all.
Yeah,
I'll take you back 2 more home games. There was no booing against Blackpool whatsoever. No booing against Blackpool whatsoever. And the football was crap, and we got lucky with a deflected goal and we scored. And thankfully they didn't attack and they never equalised. Unlike yesterday where the football was crap, we scored, but they did attack and equalise.
I mean, you'll never square this circle, because there are some people that just don't take the viewpoint that their actions have any causation or any effect on these things. And unfortunately, you're free to say whatever you like in football in this country. but you're not free from consequence.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Jimbo. It doesn't help. Yeah, of course, booing doesn't help, and the abuse after the game doesn't help. But they've done the alternative, haven't they? And they hadn't got anything to show for them. Ultimately, you know, it all comes down to the same thing. We've got to play better football. You know, whether you're booed or you're not. And we're hearing an awful lot of this word now, belief, aren't we? I've heard enough of that word. If you don't believe you can win the game of football, don't go on the pitch. Tell him and let him find someone else. Because there was only 2 players yesterday who started that game who did not kick a championship ball last season. Gideon Codger, who I think we can all appreciate is a championship footballer, and Shaden Morris, who 6 months ago was kicking a ball in the Europa League. Everyone else kicked a championship football last season. And now they don't believe they can beat Burton Albion. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. It's just excuses as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, you can't argue against any of that with the evidence of it. They totally played within themselves, because the last time we were at home was that Bradford game. Fantastic performance on a worse pitch, cut-up pitch. So how it's gone from that to this in the space of a week, 2 weeks, that's the baffling thing. And I don't think anyone knows how to solve this. Anyone.
Someone out there must do. We can't keep... It's not rocket science, is it? I mean, we're not, you know, we're not recreating how to build the light bulb or something, are we? It's ultimately 22 men kicking a leather ball of air around a bit of grass. It's not.
Well,
you know.
I say that, and then I'm thinking of options, and it strikes me that the players aren't able to play that style that is being asked of them.
The experienced players aren't.
Well, yes, but ultimately the whole team is struggling with this way of playing.
You look at this home form. By and large, in the majority of these home matches, there's been no Cal Naismith, there's been no George Saville, and in the last 2 or 3, there's been no Nicky Wells either. Now, Wells scored yesterday, didn't do anything else, but scored. Fair play to him. The 3 of them come back in, and we look turgid and dire again. You can tell me it's a coincidence. It ain't. No. The evidence is way too overwhelming of the contribution from experienced players to inexperienced players. Now, if Naismith delivered on the pitch as much as he does to that person in the enclosure who he's clearly got a beef with after games, we'd have a world-beating leader on our hands. But he doesn't. As I pointed out on Wednesday, he started the downfall for the goal, and there we go. And this is where we're at. These experienced players, Jimbo, who are on a lot of money, aren't delivering anywhere close to the output. And fair play to Jack. He got rid of a lot of them. He got rid of Marvellous Nakamba. He got rid of Jacob Brown. He got rid of a couple of others that weren't serving any purpose from the experienced fraternity. But unfortunately, the ones that are still here and he's still picking are still not delivering. And we get performances like Wigan, and we get performances like yesterday.
Yeah, well, also the team sheet was a reaction to the terrible performance at Wigan, isn't it? There's a lot of changes there. Again, I think it's kind of catch-22, because before I saw the team sheet, I was advocating changes, and then you see it, and I go, "That's too many changes." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't know how you win. I
put a team out in the preview, didn't I? I mean, one of the people that I mentioned in the preview was Sandow, and guess what? He's fit in perfectly because he's got injured already. But, you know, he didn't have any experienced players in it. You could quite easily have gone with the back 4 yesterday, the back 4 that I chose, Johnson, Mengi, Anderson and Jones. Mengi doesn't even come on when we're not protecting a 1-0 lead, even though we did protect a 1-0 lead yesterday. You know? Central midfield. Okay, Saville's Sandow, that's fair enough, but that could ease... Liam Walsh in the press conference was supposedly available, not even on the bench.
And he was never going to play, really.
Don't say it then. Don't get people's hopes up.
No, he said he's back in training, but it would be too soon, so he did say that.
All right, fair enough if he said that, and I've misremembered it. But you could still have Jake Richards on the pitch from the start and Clark in that centre midfield. Those two, Clark and Palmer at home, haven't had a problem. Away from home, they get overrun left, right and centre. But you look, Richards on the bench, one of the brightest spots in this team. Go to Wigan, you have no Codgy, you have no Johnson. Who was man of the match yesterday? Joe Johnson. Who was second player of the match yesterday? Probably Izzy Jones.
Yep. Yeah,
These are not experienced players. Take Jordan Clark away. When was the last time one of these experienced players got anywhere near a man of the match award? And half the ones that Clark have got, he didn't deserve. They don't. I can't keep stressing it enough. And this is a guy who is an academy coach. You know how to work with youngsters, Jack. You're really good at working with youngsters. You know what you get from youngsters? You get a barrel load of energy. That's all we're asking for. Energy. But let's talk about the positive, because I've had enough talking about some negatives. Joe Johnson, we know all about him going into that midfield role, and that pass through to Nicky Wells was absolutely perfect, inch perfect. It's a pass in front of a striking player or an attacking player, and we don't do nearly enough of that. Into his stride, and, to be fair, most people, when he went through on goal, had their fingers crossed, didn't they? Because he's gone through one-on-one quite a few times and fluffed his lines. But he showed me a confident composure. That finish from Nicky Wells didn't say, I don't believe I'm going to score here, or I don't believe I'm going to beat Burton Albion here. That told me there, I've got a bit of competition for my place. I ain't missing. And he didn't miss.
Yeah, agreed on all of that. And yeah, we've highlighted the positional thing with Johnson that moves into midfield when Luton have got the ball.
Which is a big move that Jack's made.
Yeah, it's not. That's not an accident. So that's a part of the play. So that as much as you may criticise some other aspects of,
I'm coming on to that.
You've got to give that a credit, because we've highlighted it before, but it hadn't delivered the fruits that it did in the game against Burton, which was this ability to play in the half turn, which he does, looks very good on that, but the pass was sublime and the finish was good. That was the only bit of quality, definitely in the first half, but arguably the whole game.
Certainly from Luton, yeah, it was. I mean, to be fair, Burton didn't really produce much more quality, but from there onwards, we could all have gone home. We had another shot on target, didn't we, about 10 minutes later, which Kodja had, which, wasn't ever going to test Collins, but hey, we're at such small pickings that we've got to raise any shots on target that we have right now. And then from there onwards, the game's all Burton. They should have equalised in the first half. Izzy Jones has got a tackle, but they've still come away with the ball. I mean, he's on the left side because they broke from an attacking situation, and we're all over the gaff defensively. And the ball's come across Lofthouse, who I couldn't have made it any clearer in the preview, is the guy who does all of their assisting, is left to run down the line, and thankfully his cross is a yard or two in front of shade, because if it isn't, he's got an absolute tap-in. But we don't yield no warning signs from things like that, do we? We don't find some organisation or anything. And, I mean, the second half was just an absolute shambles from start to finish.
It was really disjointed, too many stop-starts as well, but the basics. None of the basics. Passing to each other, passing in the right spaces to each other, allows people to run on the ball.
No urgency, no tempo.
Just all of that stuff.
Someone in the Kenilworth end, half a dozen, 10 rows behind me, after 5 minutes shouted boring in a sarcastic fashion. I mean, listen, it doesn't help. It wasn't loud enough for anyone on the pitch to hear, but it doesn't help. But you know what? It's got to that stage where people are having to make their own humour in the stands to pass the 90 minutes. And
so what we see, I agree, doesn't correlate with what is being said. Now, there's a piece, by the time you get this, well, not if you're early birds for this podcast, but sometime on Monday there'll be a piece where Jack was asked about the play, and he talks about how he's not instructing them to do what they're doing.
Then fine.
So you know what I mean. So it's not what we're seeing is not what is being said, and now presumably not what he's wanting them to do.
Yeah, listen, I didn't need to see a piece on a website to tell me that. There is absolutely.
Although you should go and look at the website, please. It's on the Lutonian.com.
Definitely do go and have a look at the website. It's a really good resource, and obviously. If you're not able to watch the pre-match press conferences, then you get all of the information from that as well. But there's never been a moment in my mind where I've thought Jack wants to play this slow, turgid, horrible to watch style of football. Yes, he might want to play a possession-based style, but you can still play a possession-based style with some tempo, with some urgency, and with some uplifting, going forward intention. But as I keep on saying, it is the same people doing this slowly catchy monkey nonsense, and he keeps picking them. So he might not be instructing them to do that. You've had 22 league games in charge now, Jack. If you've not worked out after 22 league games the 3 people who can't do what you're asking them to do, then I have begged the question: when are you going to work it out? Because we've never had a combination at the back that I can remember of a back two that hasn't included Mads Andersen, for example. Every time someone makes a mistake and we can get Cal Naismith into the team, he's straight back into the team. Saville yesterday. You know, and again, I've given you the option that was there. And then we keep on hearing about, we've got to manage people's minutes. What are we managing their minutes for, Jack? The season's slipping away from our very eyes. Now, if someone happens to get injured, let me break this to you. Our players get injured without the help of giving them extra minutes. People feel like they're getting mugged off. And the one thing Luton fans don't like is being mugged off, because that's what we've been for far too long. And I'm not necessarily suggesting in the recent times, but you go back to the darker times, and the creation of it all was because we were being mugged off. And, you know, we're not going to tolerate it. As someone shared a tweet to me, and it's probably right to bring it up now, actually, Jimbo. Let me find it while I talk. But it was from someone on Twitter called Ant McCall, and he said, "I recall being in the first team dressing room at Luton. It was tough, 30-point deduction, but Mick Harford spoke about walking towards the tunnel. He said, they know if you cheat. If you lose trying, they will clap you off. If you don't, you'll know about it. Mick, you need to get back in the dressing room and reiterate it." You can't mug these people off. You can't do it. The only thing you can do for Luton fans, and it's the only thing Luton fans ask, is that you put a shift in. I don't need to tell you, because you're a Lutonian born and bred and proud to be it. We're a hard-working town, and all we expect from our football team on a Saturday is to replicate that hard work on the football pitch. We don't do it, or we're not doing it, sorry, or not enough people are doing it. And injury time will tell you exactly why. Let me take you back 3 days. Half of Wigan's squad threw themselves in front of balls in injury time the other day. You pinpoint the moment that their number 2 touches the football for the first time in the lead up to that goal, and obviously we'll come on to how he got the ball in a minute. But you press pause on the video. There are 8 Luton players in our penalty box. There's Devante Cole with his foot on the penalty box line, and there's Jordan Clark in the D of the penalty box. That's it. That's 10 outfield players. So the furthest person forward is in the D of our penalty box, and they still get a free header at the back post. The very back post that in the preview I said all of their crosses go to, because we saw it at their place, and he still got a free header at the back post. All people want is hard work, Jimbo. And if we happen to get some results out of it, and we will get results out of it, because contrary to popular belief, the players that are useful at this football club are better than the level that they're at, or half of the level that we're at. And we've seen it when we've won games this season, when we were pants against Wimbledon and we beat them, when we were pants against Wigan and we beat them. Just work hard. Just give it everything you've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, I agree, and I agree with that statement. We've been around the club long enough to know that is what fans respond to. But there is a difference between what's being said and then therefore what we're expecting and getting, because we're being told that they're working hard and trying hard, but then you're saying they're not.
No, I didn't say they're not. I said certain people are.
Okay. So what does working hard and trying hard look like? Maybe that needs a bit more explanation, I suppose. Again, we might be coming to conclusions of different things when we haven't really got the full explanation of what that is. But, I agree with you. But we're not seeing that, and then that's adding into the melting pot of all these emotions that are coming out.
Yeah, look, I'm sure they work hard in training. I've only been to the training ground a few times in the last couple of seasons, but when I have, generally by and large, I've seen people working hard. But are we working hard on the wrong things then? Because when it comes to a Saturday, we're not delivering, are we? Particularly away from home. And to be fair, in some of the home games that we've won, we still haven't looked great. Blackpool being one recent example of that. And sometimes, like Wickham, they just didn't turn up and gave us a helping hand. But the one thing that you can't deny is you look at that Wigan set of defending on Wednesday in injury time, and you compare it to our set of defending on the Saturday, and it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, well, clearly, because we didn't score with 5 attempts and they had just the one on target and scored it. And that's the most annoying thing, because even though we saw it coming, they didn't have an awful lot of quality. I mean, neither of us did, let's be honest, but they didn't either. So how are they then able to force a goal over the line when we're seemingly unable to keep people out when they haven't really threatened? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
And you've already referenced, Jimbo, that what we're hearing is not what we're seeing. Well, in the post-match press conference, Jack said it wasn't the intention to sit on a 1-0 lead. And again, I've no reason to disbelieve him. Why would he lie? But the players on the pitch never gave me the intention of anything other than they're going to sit on a 1-0 lead. Now, the dispute I would have to Jack saying that is that he took off Gideon Codger and he brought on Nigel Longwake, and we all feared the worst when he came on. Why Longwake and not Mengi if we are bringing a defender on? Guy who's been playing central defence all season as opposed to a guy who's been playing right back all season. But even when you do protect your 1-0 lead or sit back and hope to win 1-0, and Cal Naismith in his post-match press conference seemed pretty confident that was what they were trying to do. Why you would think you could do that when you've kept one clean sheet in 11 games, I've no idea, but I've long since wondered where the football intelligence of these players has gone anyway, so I'm not going to question that. But you still got to have some sort of outlet, haven't you? Even if you sit back and you put 2 banks of 4, or you park the bus, or you low block, or whatever term you want to use from wherever it is that your football background comes from, you have to have something going the other way. Because no team at any level can just repel a ball constantly. You have to have some way of easing the pressure on yourself. And yesterday we tried time wasting, or at least I think it was time wasting, but I can't tell between time wasting and our useless tempo anyway. But Kearley got booked for time wasting when him and Naismith were having a mothers meeting over a goal kick of all things. Why Naismith wasn't booked and not Kearley, I've no idea, because it was quite obvious that Naismith was the one who was meant to take the goal kick. But he's took Codger off. He's already taken... So he takes off Morris and brings on Richards on the hour mark, seemingly like Morris is like Cinderella's carriage, just turns into something completely different on the hour mark. He comes off, they move 10 yards forward immediately, and then 20 minutes later, Codger comes off for Longwake, most pointless substitution in the history of substitutions. They move 20 yards further forward because they know we're not going the other way. And lo and behold, eventually they've got enough men in the box that Matey, number 2, the right back, is right on the edge of our penalty box to pick up a ball that he shouldn't have picked up. Johnson and Vandenberg have just got to talk to each other. One leave it for the other. Whichever one it gets left for, just belt the thing, excuse me, effing thing into Dunstable, and let's get out of there with a 1-0, take what comes, but at least we've got 3 more points. But no, they don't. There's clearly no communication between the two of them. Vandenberg swings at a ball that's come over his shoulder that he's never going to connect with in a month of Sundays. It hits Johnson, falls to the number 2. Izzy Jones has switched off at the back stick. That's a regular occurrence with whoever plays right back for this football club since Issa Kabore came in and did it so expertly. And there he is, all alone, missed the substitution. Did he head it in? Did he chest it in? I don't know, but whatever way, he wasn't missing from there. And the worst thing is they'd missed a chance at the back post 3 minutes prior to that I thought, whew, we've got out of here. That's their chance. We've got out of here. But no, we let them have another one.
Yeah, it wasn't hit the side net, and then everybody thought, bloody hell, that's in for about a split second. But yeah, there aren't any excuses for it. It's not good enough. For all the game was turgid, both teams lacked a lot of quality, we should have been in control of it. We talked about the first goal. Well, seemingly that's out the window now, isn't it? First goal we should win, shouldn't we?
Well, we used to win 1-0, didn't we? But we can't keep a clean sheet now. 11
Which
games.
is bonkers because...
1 clean sheet in 11 games, and that was Blackpool. And you referenced it on the day that until we scored, they came with absolutely zero attacking intent whatsoever, and we scored with about 15 minutes to go. That's our only clean sheet.
I mean, yesterday, until they scored, that Josh Keeley would have kept level with the Lincoln goalie for clean sheets, but he's now gone one behind us. Still got 11, which is bonkers considering we're talking about this, but of late, don't seem to keep him out.
Which begs the question, why the hell you'd think you can? On one hand, we're being told they've got no belief. And then in the next sentence, well, we believe we can keep a clean sheet. What is it? Do we believe? Don't we believe? You know? Someone's just got to say it how it is. And if you upset some people, and I don't know if Al Hamidi's genuinely injured, but he was the one who done an honest post-match press conference on Wednesday, and lo and behold, he's nowhere to be seen on the Saturday. It might just be a coincidence, and coincidences do happen, but they happen an awful lot where we're concerned. Just tell it like it is. People aren't stupid. Luton fans aren't stupid. And at least if you tell it like it is, it's going to take the edge off the vitriol that's going around. And that's everyone. That's not just Jack. That's not just Cal Naismith. That's not Jordan Clark when he comes out and does all the interviews and everything else. That's top to bottom. Just tell it like it is. You know, if you give something away that's going to help the opposition, well, guess what? They don't need the help because they're beating us anyway. Just tell it like it is and take the edge off this vitriol. Or, better still, come and sit between me and Jimbo. I've offered Gary Sweet the seat. Jack, if you want to come and sit between us and explain what's going on and what you're trying to do and how we can get around it, you're more than welcome to come in between us as well. Anyone at that football club that can take the edge off of this vitriol is more than welcome to come in here and try and explain it, to try and talk to fans in person and get ourselves out of this mess that we have created for ourselves with lack of communication and mixed communication when we do get it.
Communication might solve it all, just to explain what's going on, because there's some people that are fully up to speed, some people only half pay attention, and then some people, you know, willfully take the wrong end of the stick anyway. But that's only because there isn't enough top-down information that comes to people. Obviously, you know, hear press conferences enough from Jack and players, but you know, I've always been an advocate of that. That's what we're here trying to do, isn't it? Trying to explain what we're seeing, and that's the modern world. There's mediums such as this to do that.
I mean, we have no axe to grind. We don't do this for clicks or anything else like that. Jimbo and myself don't get a penny more if you watch this or if you don't watch this. We just want to see our football team win. We want to see our football team play well and then hopefully off the back of that win. And if by talking to us to explain the situation that we can then point out to others when they criticise that, well, this is what is being tried because, you know, someone's told us, then we'll go with that. But it's what you've always said on this podcast. It's the silence and people filling the holes from the lack of communication that they're getting or mixed communication over the last couple of press conferences that's just fueling the fire, really.
And that's a viewpoint about everything, not just football. You know, when people don't have the information, they'll make it up. And God knows that it's easier to make stuff up and for conspiracy theories to take hold on anything in the world and get out there faster. Bad news travels around the world before the good news has even got its trousers on, as they say. It does. And so you've got to try and counteract that and, you know, be vocal and be out there. I mean, there's plenty of examples that people have highlighted. Like when Plymouth was struggling, there was a missive from their CEO, the Peterborough chairman. He's got his own podcast. He goes on that every week and that sort of stuff. So, you know, you people see that from elsewhere and then they want that for themselves. And that's understandable.
Yeah, I don't think I want Gary Sweet to have his own podcast, but he can come on ours. You know, the invitation's been there for long enough. You know, sure. The only way this vitriol stops is twofold, right? The football gets better on the pitch, and as we've pointed out, you know, the levels of vitriol don't help the levels of football on the pitch. So the other way of doing it is talking to us, not writing it down in program notes or, you know, the written word or fan forums where only 100 people can get into or things like that, like last season, meet the manager nights and things like that. Here is a forum that, correct me if I'm wrong, but our Wigan review got more than 4,000 views. Okay, not all of them are Luton fans, but if we say 75% of them are Luton fans, that's 3,000 Luton fans you are talking to directly.
Well, yeah, and the one time that Gary has been on this was that content creator day, and outside of our usual output, that's one of the most viewed videos because people want to hear what he's got to say.
That is the way to do it. And even if you don't come on our channel, as I keep on saying, you have your own club channel to do this on. And I mean, maybe it does need to come on via a fan channel so that fans can ask questions that I wouldn't expect a club content to necessarily ask.
I think the best thing would be a fan channel. There's plenty out there. Obviously, I'm going to advocate for this one because that's what we do. But, you know, there's plenty out there. But I think it needs to be fans asking the questions because they do to us. You guys out there, you put it in the comments to us. I had 2 very nice conversations with you in real life yesterday. One, thanks, Steve, walking up the road to the ground and had a little natter with you, and then a dad and his daughter in the ground, and they come and say these things and ask these things, and that's fine. That's good. That's you know, it's nice to hear that. Don't necessarily have the answers for you all the time, but it's good to talk, isn't it? But I think it needs those people, you guys out there that are putting the comments on these videos that we do and that do speak to us, to be able to voice views that you have.
Which feels like a good time really to go to our instant reaction, Jimbo, because we are talking about an awful lot of the same things at the moment, and games are coming thick and fast. Saturday, Tuesday, or in Wednesday in the Wigan case. And of course, we've got Tuesday coming this week. Hopefully we're going to have Wednesday next week, and we now know that we've got Tuesday the following week with the Doncaster game rescheduled. So we are doing lots of podcasts, reviewing lots of matches. There's no point in us saying the same things. So what we're going to do over the next few podcasts, whilst we'll still give our opinion on everything, me as someone who sits in the stand in amongst you guys, and Jimbo who sits in the press box, again in amongst you guys, but at away games, he's as far away from us as anyone else, is reflect on your comments. And, you know, it's only fair that we do that. You take the time to post the comments to the instant reactions that we post. And here are a few of them. We haven't got time. There was a real reaction to yesterday's instant reaction. I've upset the Burton Mafia by mistake, and I apologise for that. I have full respect for your football club, as I gave in the preview, but I was a little bit peeved with what had just transpired right after the game, and sometimes you say things that you shouldn't do, so I apologise for comparing you to Brighton and Hove Albion. But here are some of the select comments. You've picked out a few, Jimbo. What have we got?
Yeah, I picked out quite a few comments from your instant reaction video, so you can go and have a look at these. But I thought that
are these all the ones that want us to talk about chocolate?
No, they're not actually.
I'm trying, folks. I'm trying. And thank you to Claire, actually, who gave us some celebrations, so we've got no excuse next time.
Well, yeah, let's hope it doesn't come to that, even though I do like a bit of chocolate. I picked some of these out, and I think that some of them might be uncomfortable. They're comments from you guys, so I think that they're worthwhile to read out. You know, they're in the public domain. You've put them in comments, and I think this is what some of the fans are saying.
Well, they need to listen to people, don't they? That's the thing. That's part of the problem.
So, Peter Armitage 3078 on the instant reaction said, "Wasting time for 45 minutes at home tells you all you need to know, Kev. Also shows how reliant we've become on Palmer in such a short space of time. Disappointment is no longer the right word. It's morphed into anger that the club I love is being systematically destroyed by the board. 2 years ago, Sweet was the messiah, and now he's probably the most hated man in Luton." See, these are the strength of the words they're saying. I wouldn't use those words, but that's what people are feeling. And it's vitriol that you were saying that probably can only be eased by communication, I would say. Anyway, there's more.
Can I just say on that, with regards to Casey Palmer, we believe he was taken off at half time as a tactical thing. I suspect, and I wouldn't expect Jack to say this because he'll get himself into trouble, but I suspect he didn't trust the referee not to book him a second time and took him off whilst the going was good. That referee, we've not even covered the goalkeeping incident yet. There's no real need now, is there? The game's done and dusted. But, I mean, if that referee told me it was Saturday, I'd go and check a calendar.
Shocking, yeah, it was. I don't know how they get a free kick from that, but yeah, I mean, it's not the story of the day, is it? So
one thing I would just say from that incident, though, that's the second Saturday in succession that Jack has gone in front of a camera and claimed that he doesn't know the rules. That's not a good look. Even if you don't know the rules, don't stand in front of a camera and say you don't know it. Didn't know the double jeopardy rule at Cardiff last week and then said he didn't know the rules with regards to whether it should have been a red card yesterday. It would never have been a red card because there were two defenders right behind the goalkeeper, so it wouldn't have constituted a goal scoring opportunity. Now, whether his foot was high enough, that's a different kettle of fish. But if you're coaching a League One football club, you really should know the laws of the game.
I would imagine that the words there, he doesn't mean that, I think, but interpretation is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose.
Just take a pause and then...
Yeah. Anyway, we'll carry on with a couple of more of these comments from you guys. So, RICOBN70, these YouTube names, they roll off the tongue, says, boring sideways and backwards football, and then trying to park the bus at home against a side just above relegation zone. We deserved everything we got. I'll book a cab to drop Jack Wilshere back at Arsenal Academy because the bloke is cleaning up to it here. Sweet needs to walk. Now, this is a theme that was coming up time and time again. I don't know. My view on that is that I know that that's the overriding theme. That's what people were shouting in the ground. I heard it all. Those were some of the more family-friendly views that I heard. And it's okay for you to hold those views, but what do you think the reality of that situation is going to be? For me, I think that that's not going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen either. But there still has to be a world wherein if Gary stays or Jack stays, where we're better than what we are, we can be better than what we are with the people involved. The people involved have just got to come to the honest assessment that mistakes have been made. So will we be better with the new ownership? For me, absolutely not. Sheffield Wednesday got relegated today. You don't want to go into that situation. Would we be necessarily better with a different chief executive? Well, we are getting to a stage where Gary can't be chief executive forever. He's into his 60s. Not many chief executives at multi-million-pound businesses that are into their 60s, least of all chief executives that have been in situ for circa 18 years or more. Generally, it's got a shelf life of around 10 years, and then it's a younger man's thing to build up. But on the same token, we have got projects going on that he is heavily involved in and would probably take a backward step were he to be moved on. So, but again, this can all be solved by him just coming out, or everyone at the club really, admitting the mistakes that have been made, and mistakes have been made. You don't go from having a genuine chance of staying in the Premier League to little chance of getting promoted from League One inside 2 seasons if mistakes haven't been made. Admit the mistakes that have been made. Come and tell people why those mistakes have been made. They were made in honest intentions, I would imagine. I don't think, that they were made in dishonest intentions, and maybe some of the mistakes have been made because the football club has outgrown individuals, but let us know why those mistakes were made, own up to those mistakes, and tell us how those mistakes aren't going to happen again, because I'll just refer to a popular mistake. We were told that we would not that we would learn from our lessons. It was the thing that was told in the statement that was posted after we got relegated last season, that we will learn from our lessons. Well, here we are in January with exactly the same lessons that we failed to learn from last January, in that we have signed players who are not ready for the football club that they are playing for, and the football results in February have taken a nosedive once again. It's the second season, if you're being kind, and I'll ignore the Premier League season. Our first 3 games in February after beating Brighton, which I think was the last day of January, wasn't it? Were Newcastle away, Man United at home and Liverpool away. Well, no one gets results from then, and as luck would have it, we picked up a point. But the next 2 Januaries have been a mess. And then tell us how you're going to learn from those lessons and why they're not going to happen again, so that people can judge you on it first and foremost.
Yeah, agreed.
There's no shame, I don't know if that's the right word, in admitting you've got things wrong. But there is shame in not being big enough to put or clever enough to put the things right that have gone wrong, and just letting things dwindle.
Well, that's
which is the perception that people have.
That's also the modern world, and that's how people deal with things now. I think we're of a generation that we've seen both ends of it, where you didn't say anything, you shut up. The old royal family ethos of never complain, never explain. I don't think that washes anymore. I mean, the royal family at the moment is a very bad example of anything, but sorry for that. But
I was thinking Jim and Barb from, and then now I realise what you're on about. Yeah,
I was thinking more that people, and I hear this more from the younger generation, and probably because I scroll too much on social media, but they value authenticity. They value that vulnerability of being able to say that we got this wrong or got that wrong and stuff like that. And maybe that doesn't sit right with certainly people from my parents' generation, and maybe some from ours. But as you get older and the next generation coming up, they do seem to value that. So, if we're looking to the future, there's one anecdotal piece, admittedly, of where the wind's blowing. A couple more of these quotes anyway. These comments on the instant reaction video from you guys out there. Legfish 10.
Have you picked out the catchiest name?
No, I wasn't looking at the legs. I was looking at the words that you posted. But Legfish 10 says, when any team plays as badly as this one has for the last 3 games, at least there is only ever one reason: the manager. This won't change until the manager does. Jack is similar to Graham Jones, completely unsuitable for football at this level. He won't be able to get these players to perform at their best with his irrational and inconsistent selections. That just undermines any kind of confidence that they might be able to build. He needs to go now. So, again, I'd say the reason I'd say I don't see that happening is because they've just backed him in the transfer window. They've just got him in October. They said a long time ago, probably in a programme piece, if I'm trying to rack my brains for it, that they don't want to be like that team down the road that chops and changes their manager every 5 minutes. And if you get rid of the manager now that you've just backed to a certain degree, not to everyone's liking in the transfer window, then you go back to square one again, don't you? So I don't see that as something that would happen. Bayu.
I don't see it as something that can happen. I said in the last podcast, I don't think Jack Wilshere is the problem. Whether he's the answer, well, that's for Jack to prove that he's the answer. He's a young coach. He's coached 22 league games for us and 2 league games for Norwich. So he's coached 24 league games in his career. I wouldn't expect him to be anything that he isn't. I wouldn't expect him to be Pep Guardiola, but what I would expect between all of those coaching staff is that our in-game movements to be a little bit better than what they are, and that he can install a working 11 that can play football to a tempo that is acceptable. Now, everyone compares him to Arsenal. I watched Arsenal this afternoon. There was no slow passing around the back from Arsenal. Yeah, okay, their defenders pass the ball to get it to the other side when they want to go on attack, but it was all done at a movement that Tottenham's players couldn't keep up with. Whereas ours, I mean, you know, ours look like they're playing in treacle when they do it. And I just don't believe that that's what he wants. I believe he wants to play possession-based football, and I'm fine with him playing possession-based football. Has he got the players? Well, maybe not, and I wouldn't expect him to come out and say he has. But his in-game movements, I mentioned it on Wednesday, I mentioned it against Huddersfield, and again yesterday. I mean, that final substitution was a terrible substitution. Not only did he bring the wrong defender on, had Longwaite gone to right back and we pushed Izzy Jones forward for the counter-attacking option, then that's a different story. But we didn't. Longwaite went into right centre-half. I watched Longwaite because there were a few people around me who was booing, and I don't agree with that either. I made my views about his performance on Wednesday perfectly clear, but I wouldn't boo him when he came onto the pitch. But I watched him and he just settled into position. He didn't tell anyone else where they were moving or anything else. He just went into his position. So we changed formation, so nobody knew what was expected of anyone else via Longwaite. Sometimes in this day and age, you see them bring a note on, don't you? They read the note, fold it up, stick it in their sock. None of that either. He just went into his position, barely touched the football, and lo and behold, we concede. For me, if you were making that substitution, it had to be Mengi, because he went into centre-half Longwaite. He hasn't played centre-half all season. Mengi's been playing centre-half all season. If he cheesed you off on Wednesday night, I don't know why he did. I didn't notice anything apparent that he was terrible on Wednesday night. I thought he was really bad on Saturday, but funnily enough, he got the game on Wednesday night. If he's cheesed you off to the level that he can't do 7 minutes at the end of a game, bin him off and put someone on the bench who can do 7 minutes from the end of the game. For me yesterday, and the jury is massively out on Emilio Lawrence, who right now, let's be fair, the best thing he's done in Luton shirt is pull Jack Wilshere away from that scuffle yesterday. But if you're taking Codger off, bring him on, because at least you've got an attacking outlet that when we do clear the ball, there's half a chance that we chase after it and pen them back for 30 seconds or something. His in-game movements have got to improve, Jack. And you'd like to think that they will do. And people are going to be shouting at me, well, what's Chris Powell's role? Good question. Don't know where it is in regard to that. But between all of them, you know, there's three of the last 5 games, is it? Questionable in-game movements, and we've lost all 3, or not won all 3, sorry.
Yeah. Well, just the last 1 or 2 of these anyway. Of these comments, and again, let us know if this is something you want us to do, because you want us to voice your opinions, then we can do. We can have a little segment on each review podcast. This one's from Peter Scott 234. Lads, please don't hold your punches. In my opinion, we should call out Jack Wilshere for his disgusting and foul abuse against the team, against the fans on Saturday. Why doesn't he have the balls to do that to the players? They are the ones that he needs to direct his angst at. Wilshere now has a record worse than Matt Bloomfield. So what was the point in sacking him? With Wilshere, we have another Wayne Rooney. Please reflect the true views of the trust members, not the sanitised version, hence me reading this out. Tell Sweet to get himself on your next recording session. Don't ask him. Well, that's not how the world works, but there we go. If it was, he'd have been here. Just tell him, otherwise the trust should issue a statement of lack of confidence in Sweet and the board. Thanks, and we can't keep waffling whilst Rome is burning. So that's Peter Scott. Now, look, like I said, it's going to be uncomfortable reading for some. So there's a couple of points in there, isn't there? That you know, the reaction at the end.
Yeah, do that second. Okay. Do the other point first. There's a point in there about what was the point in sacking Bloomfield, right?
Well, yes.
The Bloomfield situation had run its course. If you were at Stevenage earlier in the season, you knew there was no way back for Matt Bloomfield.
We are not at that point at the moment with Jack, so I don't see them sacking him.
one thing I will say about Jack is yesterday everyone played in their position. You go back to that Stevenage game, and I think we had 3 players playing in their position. Bloomfield had run his course, and just because he's at Oxford doesn't mean to say that he's any good. That situation, he was never the right man at the time anyway. Bloomfield, we pointed that out when we appointed him. We said we needed a championship. What's the word we used? Championship safety expert. And we appointed a guy who'd never managed a championship game of football in his life. To be fair to us, we also said when Bloomfield was sacked that we needed the League One equivalent this season. I put Graham Alexander forward as an option. And we went and employed a guy who's never seemingly watched a League One football game prior to joining us, let alone managed one. So sometimes with regards to that, we're reaping what we sow.
Obviously, the bit about Sweet, tell him. I mean...
And listen,
that's not how that works.
I can drag a horse to water, but short of sticking his head down the well, I can't make him drink it. And, you know, I'll reiterate it again for you, Peter. You know, Gary, we would love to have you on this podcast. We've got plenty of questions. I gave you the questions after the Huddersfield away game. They weren't particularly tough questions, but they're questions that fans have a deserved right to have the answer to. If you want to come on and answer them, we would really, really appreciate it. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier in the podcast. If it's clear that Gary's not coming on and Jack, you want to do the same thing and take away the levels of vitriol, because I don't need to be in a stadium with that level of vitriol. None of us do, and you certainly don't. If you think coming on and talking to us as adults amicably will help the situation, we're more than happy to have you on the podcast once again, because when you was on the podcast, what are we coming up to 4 months ago now? Yeah. I found you a really charismatic person, an interesting person, and I would love to have spent more than 10 minutes with you on that occasion. If we can spend a bit longer with you, diving deeper into what you're trying to achieve and getting some thoughts out there from our side and your side, we're more than happy to do that. But the reaction at the end, we can't have that.
No, obviously we can't. And there are people looking at that and calling for heads, and he'll be one of them because he was involved in that confrontation by the tunnel. Now, I think you're right to say that they probably shouldn't have done that. And here's where some people don't like where I try to add a bit of balance here. I've not yet seen anything from the people that he was talking to, personal people that he was talking to. So we don't know what was said. Right? Now, whether he should give that reaction, probably not. But what was said? We can't have this incomplete story of it's all one-sided. You can't have, and we also, I don't believe, you can't have a situation where anyone in the crowd is allowed to F and blind and criticise and scream at somebody and they're not allowed to react. That might not sit right with some of you, but there we are. I think that we need the other side of what was said there to fully understand the picture before you make a judgment. You can still say you don't like the reaction, and that's fine. But I don't think that would get you sacked.
Well, I don't want social media being clouded with pictures of my manager being restrained by an 18-year-old footballer. I think I'd say that. I have a fair few opinions here. Right, so first and foremost, you're absolutely right. We don't know what was said to him, but there is a piece on the Lutonian where he offers up some quotes that seems to, and I presume these come from Jack, that seem to suggest that he was saying that the fan was questioning his tactics. So if the fan was questioning his tactics and it got that reaction, I would be massively concerned. If the fan called him a "see you next Tuesday," then I'm sorry, Mr. Fan, but you're lucky you didn't jump in and belt you Eric Cantona style. But if it's what's been reported, and that's all I've got to go out there, because I'd sit in the Kenilworth end, it was by the tunnel, that he was questioning Jack's tactics. Let's say Jack, the tippy-tappy football is you know what. I'm sorry, but Jack might just have to bite his lip, put his ear defenders on and stroll off up the tunnel for that one. Where the problem comes is in his last post-match press conference, he stood in front of journalists and said, "Direct your anger at me, not the players." Well, when you invite that, which was a stupid thing to say, but admittedly, emotions were running high on Wednesday night, and as I pointed out, I said something in the instant reaction that that's copped me in trouble with the Burton Mafia, but so we all say things that we shouldn't say in the heat of the moment. But when you do invite that comment and then someone directs their anger at you, as long as it wasn't done in a personal way, as long as you weren't called names, as long as someone didn't say you're this, and this, then you're reaping what you sowed, really, aren't you? One thing I will say, Jimbo, is no one's ever took this fan base on and won. And there are people at this football club that know that all too well. You don't win by taking this fan base on. And I think Peter referenced Graham Jones in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he knows more than any. You do not win. So if the end game is to stay and manage this team into the Championship like we're being told, then that relationship needs repairing ASAP.
Oh yeah, I mean, totally agreed on that, and also the build up of the quotes he gave after Wigan about directing the anger. I mean, some of the stuff that I heard was horrible.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
I've got to leave you this with you, mate, because I'm in the Kenilworth end. Yeah. I'm a million miles away from it. They don't come anywhere near close to the Kenilworth end to here anyway. So, and I'm, to be fair, I'm of an opinion right now that once the full-time whistle goes, I'm out of there. I want to do my instant reaction. Yeah, and I'm off ski.
That's not me saying that I don't believe that you shouldn't be able to voice an opinion. I think that you can, but when it veers into personal stuff.
Give me an example.
Yeah, I can't really on here, can I?
Well, you can shorten it down. You can F and Jeff rather than.
You can imagine, can't you, what the sort of stuff that was said.
Name calling.
Definitely name calling. Yeah.
At him.
No, I mean at the time when that happened, it was immediately after the goal. It was all sort of directed at the board, save for the little bit where Wilshere and the team walked past the main stand, and then once he'd gone down the tunnel, they refocused at the board and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it can once it gets to that point, some people take it too far. Is my point.
Well, there is the danger of that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's not to say that you can't voice your opinion. In the sort of wake of it, in the 24 hours since, or whenever you get to watch this more, I wonder how people are going to achieve the desired outcome that they want. Now, the outcome that they wanted in the stands, and the outcome that they wanted, and they have wanted in social media, is Jack needs to go, Sweet needs to go. How does that happen? That's what I'm.
Well,
it's easy. What it is.
One sacks Jack.
It's very easy to say that.
Yeah.
On social media and make a little graphic and make a little meme. It never changes the dial. The people that you're aiming that at seemingly don't read social media, or they say they don't. So it doesn't. That if you want that to happen, just venting it on social media is fine because it allows you to vent if that's what you want to do. But it won't change the dial on this situation if that's what you want. Now, for instance, the day before I went to St Mary's Church to watch a play about working class Lutonian activism because I'm well rock and roll. But we have a history of that in this town.
Sounds better than that football game yesterday, to be fair.
Listen, we have a history of that in this town. We have a history of that in this club. Just spouting off on social media won't get you anywhere.
There are two strands to this, right? Listen, I referenced the people that are losing patience or have lost patience with Jack the other day, and I've explained why. Some of his decision making. I always try whenever I come on here. I'm not a ranter and a raver. I've done that last season and didn't get me very far. I try and see where it's coming from. And if I can see where it's coming from, I'll try and justify it. But there are a few decisions recently that seemed obvious to me, and I'm not a football expert. Christ, I can't even get a team promoted on Football Manager, let alone being a football expert. Although, obviously, we had that sort of funny moment down at the Content Creator Day, didn't we, where me and Jack had that thing when I mentioned the midfielders to him and things like that. But, you know, things like how long it took for the substitution to happen at Huddersfield when they went down to 10 men, to me that was obvious. You know, even on Wednesday night, how long it took Codger to come on the pitch, again, to me that's obvious. You know, bearing in mind that he took him off at half-time at Cardiff, so it wasn't like he played 90 minutes and he could only play 7 minutes at Wigan. And I know he's tried to explain that he was rested at Wigan because of his minutes. Well, again, he only played 45 at Cardiff. And again, yesterday, if I'm looking behind me and I'm seeing 2 defenders, I'm not bringing Longwake on in that situation. I mean, I'm not bringing a defender on anyway, but if that's the route he's going down, why Longwake, not Mengi? Now, obviously, you only get a select amount of time. I mean, if you had 3 hours with him after a game, you'd ask all these things, but, you know, you barely got 30 minutes with him. But these are the things that if he can explain these things in any way, shape or form, and he has his own social media accounts, and, you know, maybe every now and again he can just explain something to help things out, I think it would help. But I still think sacking him's not the answer. I still think sacking him's not the answer. Am I enjoying the football? Have I enjoyed the football of the last 3 games? No, and I never will do. I enjoyed Cardiff's football, but that's not what I was there for. I don't enjoy the football of the last 3 games. I was bored stiff yesterday. I'm not going to lie. Thank God it was 15 degrees warmer than Wednesday night, because I probably would have just disappeared because you know. But again, I'll go back to what I said earlier in the podcast. I think Jack's got a style of football that he wants to play, but I really don't think it's at the speed that we're playing it at. So my questions to Jack would be, can we improve the in-game stuff? And if there are reasons behind it, come out and give the proper reasons. Let's not hide behind Gideon Kadia's played too many minutes when he only played 45 minutes on Saturday. And we both know you took him off because he stood and watched the geezer shoot for the 3rd goal. There's no other reason why you take your attacking player off, your top scorer off at 3-1 down if he hasn't peed you off with something. You know, we're hiding behind that by saying that he didn't play at Wigan because we were arresting him for Saturday. He's a 21-year-old kid. You arrest 34-year-olds because they can't do 3 games in a week. You don't arrest 21-year-old kids. So let's have a bit of honesty on that. And, you know, he's got to improve, hasn't he? He's got to improve. His team has got to improve. But we've invested, even in 4 months, we've invested too much to just bin him off. Because if we are going to improve, the next person has to be a possession-based football manager. So we might as well stick with the possession-based football manager that we've got. This season's going nowhere now. We've got 13 league games left. You know, your boss might not be saying it, Jack, but use the 13 games. Make sure that you know that come August, whatever it is, 16th or whatever it is, that you know exactly who is going to be useful for this football club next season, and be ruthless enough to bin the ones off that aren't now and fill the gaps with whoever we need to fill the gaps with, academy products or whatever. With regards to Gary, do people want Gary to leave this football club? I don't think they do.
Social media.
Yeah, it's easy.
Argue.
It's easy to
Definitely.
say. It's easy to say sweet out, but what you really mean, I think, is sweet move over to Power Court and someone else do the football side of things. That's not sweet out. That's sweet moving.
Okay, hold your thought on that, because then just the last comment that I wanted to raise on that from you guys out there was on this issue. So Nick Evans 7594 said there are 8 clubs in League 1 and 2 with stadium capacities over 20,000. We are soon to join them. No point in changing the manager. The club is rotting from the top. Only priority for our board is Power Court. We used to have a consistent, stable team. Now it changes every game, and it's clear the players do not know the plan or each other. Total shambles. So there is a view of that Power Court has taken eyes off the ball.
Yeah, and it's a view I share. I think that is the case. And I'm fine with it, Jimbo, and I don't think I've ever said I'm not fine with it. But there is a world where Power Court can be what Power Court is, but the football club can be performing better. One's not got to come at the cost of the other. Now, Gary said in my interview with him, didn't he, in the 15 minutes that he gave us at the content day, I can't remember the exact quote. I really need to go and watch that interview back because we're obviously going to be quoting it quite a bit unless he comes on here again. It's something along the lines of, if you build a stadium, you need to have short-term pain, or something along those lines. And I'm fine with that. But where's the level of pain? What pain should we be expected to suffer? For me, that championship relegation was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
That, if we finished 21st last season, that to me is pain. But we haven't suffered, really. And I don't think it's asking too much that, having enjoyed the highs of getting to the Premier League, and Luton fans of, say, 10 years older than me don't really know top flight football, right? So most people who are 10 years younger than me will have generally experienced Luton in the lower two divisions, or more recently the Conference. So when we get to the Championship and we give ourselves, and then the Premier League, and we give ourselves a fantastic platform to enjoy being in the Championship. No one expects us to be a regular in the Premier League. We gave ourselves a shot and we fluffed our lines. Let's be honest, we did. We didn't strengthen in January. They've said, to be fair to them, if they had their time again, they probably would have strengthened a little bit more, and injuries were badly timed. But we should still have been able to use the benefits of the Premier League season to stay in the Championship. Now, if you finish one above the relegation zone in the Championship, you're the 41st best team in English football. I don't think I'm entitled to expect Luton to be the 41st team out of 92. I really don't. Now, Gary will paint that thing that he painted on Three Counties about where the stadiums have you and the budgets and all this, that and the other have you. That might be right. But we gave ourselves a cash injection and a profile injection that I think 41st in the Championship was achievable and sustainable. Sorry, 41st in English football pyramid was achievable and sustainable. And we could have built Power Core at the same time. But we're in this mess because poor decision making. Now, we can't go back and unmake those poor decisions. They've been made. But what we can do is stop making poor decisions. You know? We can stop sacking a manager and appointing a manager who has never coached at the level that you're appointing him. There's 2 on the trot that we've appointed that haven't coached a single game of football at the level that they were trying to hit the ground running. And we had to hit the ground running to achieve the aims that, first of all, of staying up, and this season to be promoted. Both lost their first game in charge. I think Bloomfield drew 0-0, but started losing after that. We need to make sure we stop making these mistakes. Now, if Gary can do that, that's fine. You know, we don't need wholesale upheaval, but what we do need is to stop making mistakes. Now, I always think your football club's 3 things. You're as good as your recruitment. We can make major changes there, because every single January we sign players who just cannot play football on the first day of February, let alone any time in January. You're as good as your leader on the pitch. Well, we ain't got one of them. We ain't had one of them since Bournemouth away, December 2023. And you're as good as your manager. And I want Jack Wilshere to succeed. I do. Because I like young coaches. Because the dinosaurs bore the living daylights out of me. But you're not going to... But at the same time, I can't be having my manager standing on the sidelines with his hands in his pockets thinking, woe is me.
Well, this comes up to another point that I've seen regularly, not necessarily in the comments that I was reading out here, and I've said this before. People cannot get over Nathan Jones. They see Wilshere not being Nathan Jones, like animated and stuff, and it's get Nathan Jones back. There's another thing. Nathan Jones is not coming back.
But you
need to get over that.
You're restricted to a certain amount of characters on social media. If I speak to someone who tells me he wants Nathan Jones back, he doesn't want Nathan Jones back. He wants the characteristics that Nathan Jones' teams bring.
But you're not going to get Nathan Jones. Most managers will stand and watch the game. He's a rare breed of glorious nutter that fans love to see if he's your boss and he's doing well. But most managers aren't like that. And obviously Wilshere comes from the Arsenal stock of Arsene Wenger, who would sit there and stand there and not really get involved too much unless it was having a row with Mourinho on the odd occasion. But
he also comes from a team that wins, and this one doesn't. But again, I'll refute that, Jimbo. They don't want Nathan Jones the person.
No, some do.
Yeah, of course.
And they cannot get over it. And I'd really like to just not see that anymore, because he's not coming back.
But the majority of people who quote they want Nathan Jones back don't want Nathan Jones back. They want the characteristics of a Nathan Jones football team back. But the only way to express it is I want Nathan Jones back, because you've got a shortage of characters. Yeah. They don't. They want the characteristics. It wouldn't matter if it was Michelle Obama doing it. They want the characteristics of that team. And I've referenced that team on this podcast loads of times because we come up against those players loads of times. They want that give it absolutely everything that we've got. Whether we're good enough or whether we're the best team in the league or the worst team in the league, you knew you were going to a game of football and they were going to give blood and guts for the cause. That's what people want back. Yeah, if it's Nathan Jones himself...
I agree with that. Everybody would want that team, but they're two different things here. There are some people that just want him back, and they've said that they would go and drive him back if they could.
And that's only
and there are other people that want the characteristics of that team and the still team.
They say they want Nathan Jones back because they don't know who the Nathan Jones is. So they use Nathan Jones as the example. If Nathan Jones had an identical twin brother with all the same characteristics, they'd call for him. They would. It is the characteristics that they want back as much as the manager. And don't get me wrong, there are some that want Nathan back. I'm not saying that everyone who's saying Nathan doesn't want Nathan, but if you could only have the characteristics of Nathan's team or Nathan himself, an overriding set of people will take the characteristics of the team over Nathan.
Yeah, and the reason
why they would do that is because the second that the food chain comes calling again, he'll be off-ski. As Jack will, let's be fair. If he becomes a success story, he's not going to be here long, because he'll go higher up the food chain because his name is whoever it was who mentioned we've appointed another Wayne Rooney. He'll go higher up the food chain. But it's the characteristics, because that was the last, that was the team that took us from the bottom to the top. This team's taken us the other way. I believe a football team represents its manager. And if you're standing on the sidelines with your hands in your pockets wondering what the hell's going on, your football team's probably going to be slow, sloppy, turgid and wonder what the hell's going on. I compare him to the Cardiff manager. Kicked and headed every ball. Cardiff kicked and headed every ball. Just, Even yesterday, right? Shout them up. Scream, get out of our penalty box. Because the further out of our penalty... Burton didn't suggest to me they had the quality to stick a 30-yard thunderbolt in like the Cardiff guy did. Scream them out of the box. Wave them up out of the box. So if just one player's looking for inspiration from their manager, they're getting it. But if that one person yesterday was looking for inspiration from their manager and he's standing there with his hands in his pockets, then that person's going to be like, what am I doing here? And this game's all optics, isn't it?
Yeah, well, increasingly so.
We need to knock this on the head, Jimbo, because we're well over the hour. We will scale that down when we do the review section from your comments in future. But obviously, it's the first time we've done it, so we've gone a little bit over how far we would want to. Just quickly, Tuesday night, we've got to touch on Tuesday night. It is our season. I don't know if you watch this podcast, Jack, but if you do, time to take this competition seriously now, because it is our season. And also, if we don't take Tuesday night seriously, they've just put 5 past the league leaders. Let's not let it get any more messy than it currently is.
That is an outrageous scoreline that they posted at the weekend, considering how we played against Cardiff. They've got to be one of the form teams in the division. They've got one of our ex-strikers that never got a game for us, and hey, won't he want to prove something? Who's scoring goals? Who's got more than our strikers combined now?
And there is a bit of a similarity here, Jimbo, just going back to what we have spoken about. Cleverly was under all sorts of pressure when we went down there, 5 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
5 weeks later, he's the newcomer. They stuck with him. They could easily have sacked him. He was under even more pressure when they came here, actually, weren't they? I wasn't at the game, but people who were, who told me that the Plymouth fans, wouldn't have whatted on him if he was on fire. But so there is and he's still a relatively young coach, isn't he? I don't know if you get any coaching experience from down the road, but so there is that template of sticking with your man, particularly for us, given that the season's gone. But yeah, the strike force, they're giving me nightmares. I didn't sleep last night and I'm not involved. And I've got 2 more sleeps yet.
There's no dressing up. It's a very, very difficult tie. If you get past it, then, there's a lovely route to Wembley, but to overturn them, you've got to hope that they think that they've got a sniff now of playoffs, and maybe they rest players.
They're not resting players, are they?
I can't see it, but listen, when you're clutching at straws, that's what you're left with.
Well, what we've got to hope is, and we'll not hope, they're going to come and play a game of football, so we've got to hope that we engage in it like we did against Bradford.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, could get a bit Lionel.
Yeah, and that's not going to help the situation or the emotions at all either. Admittedly, the ground would be half full probably based on all the previous attendances for that competition.
I think they've only opened the main stand, which is in itself a little disappointing when you think it's a quarter-final of a cup competition. And I know we can poo-poo this cup competition, and I know we shouldn't be in this cup competition, but ultimately there is a lucrative day out at Wembley dangling in front of us, 2 home games away, that, I don't know what all this sustainable thing and all of these financial rules are for next season, but if we can get ourselves a Wembley Day budget boost, that's not easy to say, then it can't be any harm, can it? Because it's money that they wouldn't have budgeted for that they'd be able to use next season. There's another reason to take it seriously. Do you see us playing Northampton in the semi-final? We're not doing score predictions, obviously, but do you see us playing them in the semi-final?
Realistically, on the form that both are in, no. I can't think of a time that we've turned around this sort of strength of feeling and form quickly. It can happen, but I can't think of it.
Well, there's the other positive, isn't it? If they've only got one stand open, then the strength of feeling is only going to be a quarter of what it was. So maybe they can play some football on Tuesday night. Hopefully, the experienced players can't do Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and they're not required on Tuesday night. Go back to earlier in this competition when the experienced players haven't played. We played some of our best football in it. Battered Barnet, battered Exeter. Put the experienced players in and lost to Exeter.
Well, then there's a bit of a blueprint there, isn't it? I think, yeah. I think you have to go with the strongest side, particularly if they go with their strike partnership that they've got currently. I'd fear, because we've already talked up Tolai, and now Peppel's banging them in as well. And you go back to Joe Taylor last week. You go back to every single player that we've come up against has performed top notch against us.
Well, we're talking about them too. Let's not forget about Curtis and Sorinola on the wings, because they absolutely tore us down their place a few weeks ago. This is a side suddenly they're coming at you from all angles, and we have got to proper be on it on Tuesday night. I don't want to see none of those youth teamers on the bench that we saw against Swindon. Malarkey, 1 or 2, absolutely fine. 7. I want a bench on Tuesday that if we go behind, we can still win the cup tie. If we, otherwise, just pull out of it.
I know I wouldn't mind seeing, and considering our struggles, David Gower.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I'd have no problem with having him on there. No problem with having Harry Fox on there, for example, and maybe even Finn Evans if the old school need a break. But then the rest of the bench needs to be useful players. And, I would go something along the lines of with the team, well, pretty much similar to the team that I would have picked on Saturday, actually, And let's hope he does, and let's hope we win, and let's hope we get something positive to come out of this season. Just before we go, we're not going to do we're not going to review that game. We've already made plans for the rest of the week. Before this game, we thought we were out of the cup, didn't we? So we made plans for this week. So we'll do a quick review of that during the Port Vale review, but we'll record a Port Vale preview before that cup tie. That'll be out to you at a normal time later in the week. Just before we go, 5 correct scores yesterday, Jimbo. Not strictly true, 6 correct scores. I'll come on to the 6th one in a minute. But the 5 off of YouTube were Holliston Hatter, Chismays 1710, Mervyn Gillingham 2349, Marky Pay, and for the 3rd time in 3 games, John Allen 9165. You are making a serious move up the leaderboard, John. 3 correct scores on the trot. Well done to you, and well done to me, Jimbo. But I don't want it. I don't even want the credit for it, because I'd much rather you was right this time than me.
Well, isn't this the travesty of the whole thing, really? Above anything else, I got the score right until the last bloody injury time minutes, and
I got the score right and didn't want to.
Outrageous.
Indeed so, yeah. Apologies for a longer podcast this time. As I say, we'll scale it down next time we do the comments, but we've been scratching around about what to say all day, actually, and we come up with that idea, and
Well, I think it's good to get your view on it. I mean, other than the reaction afterwards, a lot of it is the same issues of representing themselves, isn't it? So, as people have commented on the instant reaction, that they want their voice to be heard, or you want us to say what you're thinking or say what you're saying. We can't say it all, obviously. We could do another hour and a half of this, probably.
No, we can't.
Yeah, but we won't. So if you do want us to expand that as a segment, then I'll be quite happy for that.
Yeah, I think so. If we're sitting here saying that the last 13 games are meaningless, let's talk about other things than just meaningless football matches, really, like chocolate.
I don't know. I like chocolate, but I don't know if I can do.
Got Easter.
I don't know if I can do a whole.
Got Easter coming up, Jimbo.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you what. Maybe I'll save this if the Port Vale game doesn't go right. But is anyone out there? There's a little plea to you. Is anyone out there doing the EFL Panini sticker book? Because if you are,
I'm not having got swap on here.
Got need is some. I'll go into it if I'm just putting it on your radar. Anyone that's doing the EFL Panini sticker book, get your act together, get ready in case we need to get into this in the Port Vale review, because I'm not at school anymore and I can't get in the school playground and go got need with my mates. So we may have to do this virtually, but I'm sure there's a way.
If it stops us talking about another away defeat, got need it is. That's the situation that we're in, folks. Thanks for watching, listening, however it is that you've consumed this podcast, and do keep your comments coming in, whether they're to us in person or whether they're on YouTube. We do, or as we've pointed out, we do take notice of all of them, and we try and action them wherever we can. And thank you to the good folks here at Marsh House for putting up with us this week in particular, having done 3 podcasts this week, but all season long. We really appreciate your support, guys, as we do to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for all of our intro music. Until next time, where we will preview an away day against bottom of the table Port Vale from Jimbo and myself. I don't know what to say anymore. Please, 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 please improve town.